at need, withdrew her legions from England. Then stood the realm in great darkness and danger, for every overlord held rule in his own tower, and fought with fire and sword against his fellow. Then against these dark forces rose up a new force, wherein flowered courtesy, humanity, and noble chivalry.
Your kinsman have been here before us.
He is still here.
I cry Morgan le Fay, rightful Queen of England, and her knight champion Mildred, Lord of the Isles.
I cry Arthur Pendragon, Duke of Gwent.
When it comes to legendary tales, it's hard to find one more enduring than that of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Then Arthur rose up, and the warriors of the islands of Britain with him, to seek for Idol, and they proceeded until they came before the castle of Glivi, where Idol was imprisoned. Whether or not Arthur was based on any real figure continues to be argued today. The earliest references appear in medieval Welsh collections, including the Mabinogion and the Book of Taliesin. The wizard Merlin features in these earliest versions, and Arthur himself fights off dragons and other supernatural creatures. But the Arthurian legend would be added to over the centuries by many other medieval authors like Geoffrey of Monmouth and Chrétien de Troyes, who brought in Lancelot, the famous Round Table, and of course the legendary quest for the Holy Grail.
I am upon a quest, sire. What do you seek? The Holy Grail. At Pentecost, when the Round Table met, every knight save you sat in his own place. Then suddenly we heard the crash and cry of thunder, louder and louder, until we thought the walls must tumble inwards and destroy us. But then the tumult died, and the hall was filled with light, 100 times more clear than day. And no knight could speak. Then we heard music, as if the skies were filled with joyful song.
There have been a myriad of Arthurian adaptations from the earliest days of cinema, each one taking different parts of the mythology that built up over the centuries. The 1963 animated version, The Sword in the Stone, focuses on Excalibur, the legendary sword which only Arthur can remove, as foretold by the wizard Merlin. In 1981, the live-action film Excalibur would continue with this version of the story.
Let the boy try! Let the boy try! Come on, Arthur. Don't be afraid.
Rise, father, please. I was your son before I became your king. If I am king.
You are king. The more so because you're not my son. And I'm not your father.
Not my father? The Kay is not my brother?
Merlin the magician brought you to me when you were newly born and bade me raise you as my own.
While the Arthurian tales were hugely important in medieval times, they did eventually fade from prominence, and it was only in the 19th century, with the rise of Romanticism, that a whole new era of interest was born that continues to this day. One of the main authors responsible for this rebirth was the poet laureate Alfred Lord Tennyson, and his work, Idylls of the King. Tennyson would base his version on the Mabinogion, and a 16th century rendition named The Death of Arthur, where at the moment of his passing, he orders Excalibur to be returned to another of the cherished elements of the Arthurian legend, the Lady of the Lake.
One day, the king will come, and the sword will rise again.
Another writer who revived interest in Camelot, but with a much lighter tone, was Mark Twain with his Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, where an American wakes up to find himself surrounded by the likes of Kay, Merlin, Lancelot, and of course Arthur. But perhaps the most important author in beginning the renewal of interest in medieval literature as a whole was Sir Walter Scott, with his 1812 novel Ivanhoe. For he that does good, having the unlimited power to do evil, deserves praise not only for the good which he performs, but for the evil which he forbears. Ivanhoe is set in 12th century England, during the reign of the Crusader king Richard the Lionheart. Its enormous popularity would not only rekindle public interest in the life of medieval courts and the chivalric code, it would also greatly influence modern-day perception of another of the great literary figures, Robin Hood.
Now, Locksley, now, while they're still in range.
Peace, you hothead. Would you slay Sir Ivanhoe?
Sir Ivanhoe died in the Holy Land.
The troubadour is Sir Ivanhoe. He takes those Normans to his father's keep.
Ivanhoe defied his father when he went to the wars, and Cedric cast him off. He would never go back there. Unless he's turned traitor to the Saxons and his father with him.
Put down your bows. I'll know why he rides with Normans and why he takes those Normans to his father before I'll believe ill of Sir Ivanhoe or Cedric. And so shall you, you rattlepate.
Just like with King Arthur, the historical basis of Robin Hood continues to be debated today. He's remained one of the most popular figures of English folklore, and again, as with King Arthur, many new elements have been added to the original tale, including the roles of Maid Marian and Friar Tuck. In Elizabethan times, he was mentioned in Shakespeare's The Two Gentlemen of Verona, and was the subject of Ben Jonson's A Tale of Robin Hood. When Sir Walter Scott wrote Ivanhoe, he bestowed Robin Hood with the title of Robin of Locksley, which has remained ever since, and created his now signature demonstration of skill, the splitting of an opponent's arrow with his own.
I mean, can't win now. No living man could beat that shot. I'll wager 100 marks on Philip of Alice. He split Philip's arrow. The Tinker wins. He wins.
character's popularity has continued into the age of cinema, with Douglas Fairbanks taking on the role in the silent era.
Douglas Fairbanks was the kid's hero.
In the decades since, many new incarnations of Robin Hood have attempted to recapture the magic, but the most highly revered of all remains 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn.
Did I upset your plans?
You've come to Nottingham once too often.
When this is over, my friend, there'll be no need for me to come again.
Your sword, Gisborne.